Good afternoon, welcome to Manik IAS. Today we'll discuss current affairs of 11th February. Okay, first is Parvatmala Yojana, right? Parvatmala scheme. We'll discuss Parvatmala schemes, and one more topic is about your Indo-US, USA-Iran relationship, and next, uh, the third discussion will be on green bonds, right? Okay, so what is this Parvatmala scheme? Government has an ambition to for inclusive growth. What do you mean by inclusive growth? That means every citizen is participated. Every citizen must participate in the growth process, right? When we see that every citizen, that means every citizen with respect to those who belongs to the lowest section of the society on the basis of caste or on the basis of gender or religion or ethnicity, or sometimes it is also region, right? On the basis of region also there is underdevelopment. For example, if we will consider FDI inclusion, if you consider foreign investment, then we see that 30% of total foreign investment goes to Delhi, and 20% of total foreign investment goes to Maharashtra, and almost 0% of foreign investment goes to northeastern states, right? So that's a big problem. Why 0% of investment goes to northeastern states? Because there is no proper communication, there is no infrastructure, right? Because why there is no infrastructure? There is no infrastructure because of the uneven terrain, that is hilly terrain. So it is very difficult to develop widespread road networks in a hilly area, and developing road networks also cost too much high. Previously, we have two schemes, Bharatmala Yojana and Sagarmala. Bharatmala Yojana and Sagarmala Yojana. Sagarmala Yojana is related to port development, and Bharatmala Yojana is related to development of national highways. So here we see a new type of scheme, that is Parvatmala schemes. So traditionally these areas are they are getting excluded. That's why if you see various schemes, government is providing in every central sponsored scheme, government provides 90% of the central fund and 10% to the states. For example, there in a central, what do you mean by central sponsored scheme? In a particular scheme, central government has to pay a share and state government has to pay a share. In majority of the schemes, if you will see, then generally scheme has a ratio. The ratio of contribution between central government and state government is usually 60-40, right? But that is 90 is to 10 in case of northeastern states. 90 here, in all other states 60 rupees will be paid by the central government and 40 rupees will be paid by the state government. But in case of northeastern states, 90 rupees will be paid by the central government for the same scheme, and 10 rupees will be contributed by the state government. Why so? Because those areas are very underdeveloped. That's why the revenue generated, there is no big industries, the revenue generated in those areas are very few. That's why government is supporting a huge amount of money from country's exchequer. Right. So what is the alternative mode of communication to counter this challenge? It's a huge challenge, right? Because the economic development of a particular region depends on the transportation or infrastructure or communication networks. Now, by traditional road we cannot achieve that. That's why we have to develop Parvatmala scheme. That Parvatmala scheme has come up, that is the transportation by ropeway. The scheme will be taken up by PPP, public private partnership mode, which will be a preferred ecological sustainable alternative in place of conventional roads in difficulty and hilly areas. Right. Ecological sustainable alternative place in conventional roads in hilly areas. Public partner private partnership. That means both private sector will be also welcome. They will invest, because we have seen that PPP mode of infrastructure, PPP mode of working style has more efficiency as compared to only public investment, right? Only public working, because private sector, wherever private sector works, efficiency increases. That's why PPP model is the best model to develop infrastructure, right? Next, the idea is to improve connectivity to convenience to commute. Besides promoting tourism, it will promote tourism first of all, then it will improve connectivity and convenience for the commuters. It will be easy to move in those areas. Then may also cover congested urban areas. Yes, congested urban areas like Delhi, where it is not sufficient, then it is also an alternate mode of transport, right? Where conventional mass transit system are not feasible. The scheme is being presently utilized in regions like Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Jammu and Kashmir, and other northeastern states. Basically, this Parvatmala scheme is getting implemented. The finance minister has announced a contract for 8 ropeway projects of length 60 km would be awarded in 2020 to 23. 8 ropeway projects. It is discussed in the budget. Next. Which will the nodal ministry? Who will the ministry which ministry will monitor the activities? This will be monitored by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Right? Ministry of Road will have a responsibility for development of roadway and alternative mobility solution technology, as well as construction research policy in these areas. So, Ministry of Transport and Highways will be the nodal ministry. Next, in February 2021, Government of India Rules 1961 was amended, and which enabled Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to also look after the development of ropeway. Right. So this Government India Business Rule 1961, these are added ropeways into the jurisdiction of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. The move will give a big boost to the sector, setting a regulatory regime, and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has been responsible for the development of highways and regulating road transport across the country. So this is the nodal ministry. Nodal ministry is Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. In 1961, the jurisdiction increased to add the ropeway and alternative mobility solution to the ministry. Right. Next. And what is the significance of ropeways or Parvatmala scheme? Economic mode of transportation. Given the rope projects built in the straight line over hilly terrain, it also results lower the land acquisition cost. It's lower the land acquisition cost because whenever there is a road construction, the major challenge is the land acquisition, right? Hence, despite a higher cost of construction per kilometer than roadway, ropeway projects construction cost may happen more economical than the roadway, right? Although the cost of construction is more, still it will be very early. That's why they are expecting that it will be more economical, right? Because land acquisition is a big process and they have to pay a huge amount of money. But in case of Parvatmala scheme, they don't have to acquire land, they have to acquire just few land for towers. Next, faster mode of transportation. Owing to the aerial mode of transportation, ropeways have an advantage over roadway projects where ropeways can be built in straight line. Where ropeways can be built in a straight line over hilly terrain, right? In hilly terrain, it is very difficult uh, mm, for the road transportation. Basically, the road transport in hilly areas are like this, zigzag, zigzag, which is very time taking. But in case of rope, it will be very straight. It will straightly, it will go to the top. So it is faster mode of transportation. Environment friendly, low dust emission metal containers are designed so as to rule out any soiling of the environment. There will be low dust emissions. Last mile connectivity. Rope projects are adopting 3S, three kind of cable car system or equivalent technology can transport around 6,000 to 8,000 passenger per hour. So it is a big size, 6,000 to 8,000 passengers per hour. That is, so this will ensure last mile connectivity. So development will reach to the remote areas. If you take the example of, if we consider regarding, for example, if you consider the electricity, some electricity distribution, right? Up to 2018, when if we consider the last 5,000 villages which got electricity, they are especially basically though they are those villages which are situated in the hilly areas especially, and those areas which are in the northeast, in the left wing extremism areas. So especially hilly areas or dense forest areas, there is no such communication system. That's why these problems, that's why uh, it got delayed. So we can take the example of electricity connection. Similarly, or every scheme do not reach those remote areas because of difficulty in communication. That's why, so here in this case, ropeway projects will be a game changer. Then, what are the benefits? Long rope spans. The system crosses obstacle like rivers, buildings, ravines, roads without any problem, right? So there is no such challenges that especially occurs in case of road development. Ropes are guided over towers, low space requirement on the ground, no barrier for humans or animals, right? If road construction happens, then there are various barriers for animals, and there is you have to cut trees. There are environmental costs as well, but here there is no such possibilities. Now, if you consider the what is the economic aspect, ropeway having multiple cars propelled by a single power plant and drive mechanism. This reduces both construction and maintenance costs. The use of single operator for an entire ropeway is further saving labor cost. Use of single operator for an entire ropeway. That's why it will save labor. So it is efficient. It reduces maintenance cost and construction cost, right? So it's very good for economy. On the level of ground, the cost of ropeways is competitive. With narrow gauge railroads in the mountains, the ropeway is far superior, right? Okay. So here we learn that in case of ground, ropeways is competitive with rail and roads. That means almost similar, slightly higher. If the question comes whether we should start ropeways in normal plain area, then there will be competition, right? In which maybe it will face some loss, but still, but ropeways in hilly areas they are far superior, right? So in ropeways are in every manner they are much better than as compared to the traditional road and rail system. Flexible. Transport of different materials. Ropeway allows for the simultaneous transport of different types of materials. Ability to handle large slopes. Ropeways and cableways can handle large slopes and large differences in elevation. Where a road and railroad needs switchback or tunnels, ropeway travels straight up and down in the fall line. The old cliff railways in England and skies resort ropeways in mountains are taking advantage of this feature. Right. So there is no tunnels. You don't need a tunnels because in case of hilly areas, if you need transportation by rail, then they have to make some tunnels, which will bring which will require huge expenditure. But in case of ropeways, you don't need that much of expenditure. So it has the ability to handle large slopes, even if slope is very high, right? Even if the hilly areas, then you can also connect by ropeways. Next, low footprint. The fact that narrow-based vertical supports are needed at intervals, narrow-based vertical supports are needed in interval, leaving the rest of the ground free, makes it possible for ropeways to be constructed build up areas and places where intense competition for land use. Intense competition for land use. For example, in Delhi, the price of land is very high. Right? In case of Delhi, the price of land is very high. So rather than to make and the population is increasing. So in those cases where price of land is very high and population is increasing, then rather than going for the road to develop road transportation, ropeway transportation can be encouraged. Right. Then just 1 minute. Okay. So now we'll discuss next topic, that is Jcpoa. Right, restoration of Jcpoa. What is this Jcpoa? Especially it is related to Iran nuclear deal. Recently, US has restored sanction waivers to Iran to allow international nuclear cooperation projects as indirect Iran-American talks on reviving the 2015 international order nuclear deal with Iran. Okay, what is the background? See, people P5 plus 1. P5 country means those countries which are permanent member of United Nations. That is France, UK, US, and China, Russia, and Germany. Right? P5 plus 1. They signed a deal with Iran that Iran will not develop its nuclear power, and the existing sanctions, there are sanctions by USA against Iran, they will be lifted. And according to that Iran nuclear deal, the sanctions on Iran, international sanctions on Iran lifted, and every country, Iran got green signal to develop its trade relationship with every country once again. But what happened after Trump came? This deal was done during the Barack Obama, right? It is regarded as one of the major steps for West Asia peace process. But again, when Trump came, because of his anti-Islamic stand, he came out of this deal, and ultimately this resulted into stall of this Jcpoa, right? And he stopped it. So this Iran nuclear deal, this peace process stopped. Again, with Biden government has restored this the Jcpoa, which is a very good news for international countries or international communities. The waiver allows other countries or companies to participate in Iran's civil nuclear program without triggering US sanction on them in the name of promoting safety and non-proliferation. So now other companies and countries can participate in the nuclear program. The waivers were revoked by United States in 2019 and 20 under the former President Donald Trump, who pulled out of the nuclear agreement. Right, Donald Trump has pulled out of the nuclear agreement signed by the P5 countries and Germany with Iran. The agreement is formally called as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that is Jcpoa. The Jcpoa was a result of prolonged negotiation between 2013 and 15 between Iran and P5 plus 1, that is China, France, Germany, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States. It happened due to a back channel talk between US, that is President Barack Obama, and Iran. This deal was signed, quietly brokered by Oman. An attempt to repair the accumulated mistrust since 1971 Islamic Revolution. Right? Islamic Revolution, also called Iranian Revolution, popular uprising in Iran 1970 and 79 that resulted in the toppling of the monarchy on 11th February 1979 and led to establishment of Islamic Republic. So here you will learn that these five countries, P5 countries plus Germany, they signed deal with the Iran to stop. They signed to waiver the sanctions imposed by the US previously. Right. The Jcpoa obliged Iran to accept constraints on its uranium enrichment program verified by intrusive inspection design in the return of partial lifting of economic sanctions. So what it said basically, the Jcpoa says that Iran has to accept the constraints in uranium enrichment. That means in which direction it can, what are the enrichment that is allowed and what are the enrichment that is not allowed. The Jcpoa it's on the red lines. When Donald Trump became president, he withdrew the deal, called it horrible and one-sided deal, and should have never made, right, because of political ideologies or whatever. He revoked this deal, and again sanctions imposed on Iran. The US is criticized by all other parties of Jcpoa, including the European allies, because Iran was in compliance with obligations as certified by International Atomic Atomic Energy Agency. Iran was in compliance with the obligations. So that is the biggest certificate. You don't need any more sanctions when International Atomic Energy Agencies basically run by the influence of the developed countries. They itself says that Iran was in compliance with obligations. Then there is no need to ban Iran, right? Tensions rose after the US pushed ahead its military actions, while widening its scope to cover nearly all Iranian banks connected to global financial system, industries related to metallurgy, energy, shipping, individual related to defense, intelligence, and nuclear establishments. For the past year after US withdrawal, Iran's response was muted as the E3, France, Germany, UK, and the European Union promised to find a way to mitigate between US's decision. The E3 promised the relief instrument in support and trade exchange kit in 2019 to facilitate limited trade with Iran. So there was limited trade with Iran after Trump imposed his sanctions, right? However, in May 2019, Iran's strategic presence ran out of anti-military economic relief from E3. EU failed to materialize. A sanction began to hurt. Iran shifted its strategy to maximum resistance. So again in 2019, they automatically got revived. What will be the impact? Restoration of Jcpoa this may ease many restrictions over the Iranian regime. This will ease many restrictions. Sanctions will be limited, which may indirectly help India, because India is a country which was having a share of 15% of all the resources from Iran. But after US didn't want it, and they revoked this Jcpoa. Then they repealed Jcpoa. India's export suffered, right? India's import from Iran suffered as well. Also, we have Chawar port there, we have Bandar Abbas port, and we have, if we want to develop the regional connectivity, then there should be peace deal, right? And this will give a boost to the regional connectivity. This should further help India to neutralize Chinese presence in Gadar port, right? And Pakistan. Then, apart from Chabahar, India's interest on international north-south transit corridor INSTC, which runs to Iran, which also improve connectivity with Central Asian republics, also get a boost. So there are various positives. There is boosting regional connectivity by Chabahar port and INSTC, and energy security due to there's a link to US countering America adversaries through sanctions at Katkasa. India has to bring down all imports to zero. Restoration of ties between US and Iran will help India to procure cheap Iranian oil and oil energy security. So it is important for India's energy security. Then sovereign green bonds. What are sovereign green bonds? Recently, Finance Minister announced government to propose is sovereign green bonds to mobilize resources. Why there is bond? Bond is to, they are launched or by to mobilize resources from the public, right? Public will invest. So where they will invest? They may invest in green bonds, right? Those people who want to develop, they may invest in green bonds, public sector projects. The announcement is India's commitment to achieving zero net carbon emission by 2070. So basically, so these bonds will generate funds for the government. Then what are green bonds? Green bonds are issued by companies, countries, multilateral organizations exclusively to fund projects, right? To fund projects that have positive environmental and climate benefits, right? If anybody want to fund, then they can buy green bonds. The project include renewable energy, clean transportation, and green buildings, among others. Proceeding from these bonds are earmarked for green projects, right? Green projects means environmental sustainable projects. These are like standard bonds proceeds which can be utilized for various purposes, discretionary issues. The international green bond market has been cumulative in issuance of more than 1 trillion US dollar since 2007. So it is a huge demand and huge money can be generated from the public, which can be utilized in our development. By the end of 2020 and 24, national governments had issued sovereign green social, sovereign green social and sustainability bonds, total cumulative around $1 US, $1.1 billion. So it is a huge, you can see. So it's a huge, it's an emerging market, and green bonds. So people should start invest in the green bonds for the environmental sustainability along with the interest with respect to it. Then what we have to do? We can follow the French model. Example, France as a part of budgeting process assigns green coefficient each budget, right? European Union also seeks environmental priorities of European Union are climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, water management, circular economy, pollution, biodiversity. So we have to make our priority areas. Then harmonizing standards, standard of foremost requirements to harmonize international domestic guidelines. Standard for green bonds to develop a robust green bond and market. Homogeneity is also required in terms of constitute green investments, and varied taxonomies would be antithetical to cross-border bond market. So this will make a uniform standard, right? So international domestic guideline standard green bonds will develop. It will attract huge investment that will ultimately help in sustainable development. Then leveraging private sector, appropriate capacity building efforts to ensure emerging markets to spread knowledge on the benefits and related processes pertaining to green bonds would help addressing the institutional barriers entry to the market, making it user friendly. Leveraging the private sector should feel secure, and it should be made simple to invest, right? So private sector participation is must, which also must so far as sovereign green bonds are concerned. Then what is Powerthon? Powerthon it is a hackathon competition that is especially to develop the power sector, right? That is related to power distribution, research institution, that will see participation from startups, technology solution providers, how we can develop our power distribution system, right? How we can adjust, how we'll match the demand and supply match, how we should solve the issues and technical issues, commercial issues, loss of reduction, energy inefficiency and electric theft. As we know, around 30 to 40% of our power is getting lost because of the transmission lines and theft. Or the schemes, प्रधानमंत्री सहज बिजली हर घर योजना schemes, सहज बिजली हर घर योजना, right? Okay, we will see सहज बिजली हर घर योजना, integrated power development scheme IPDS, दीन दयाल उपाध्याय ग्राम ज्योति योजना, गर्व that is ग्रामीण विद्युतीकरण half, usual discom assurance yojana, udaya scheme, 4 east in the revised tariff policy. These are the steps by government to reduce the issues related to power sector. Then we will discuss the previous we will discuss some questions. Representation of People's Act 1951 empowers Election Commission of India to allot party symbols. This is not representation of this is not representation of People's Act. It is the Election Commission symbol order of 1968. Sorry, 1948. Sorry, Election Commission. This order is of 1968. This is election symbols order. Election symbols order. 1960. So first option is zero. Supreme Court of India is only authority to decide on issues of merger of political parties. No. Only authority is election commission to decide on the issues of merger of political parties. It's not the Supreme Court. Then next question. Consider the following statement regarding Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. It is a financial inclusion program of Government of India. It is right answer. Financial inclusion started major scheme for inclusive development. That is Jan Dhan Yojana. It provides super debit card. Yes, having inbuilt insurance cover of 1 lakh. No, it has increased to 2 lakh. right? So second option is wrong. So only one is only the right. It is issuing debit card. It is a for democratic financial inclusion, right? Poor people are also in government schemes. It is integrated with the government schemes. Government schemes sends money for a particular scheme and directly that goes to the bank account. It is also linked to the Pahal Yojana, right? You will get the subsidy in your bank account. Consider the following statement about NISA. It's a satellite that's developed by NASA and ISRO, right? Fast radar imaging satellite using dual frequencies, right? Dual frequencies. This is used to remote sensing to observe and understand natural processes on Earth. That is NISA. ISRO and NASA both are conducting this mission, right? Here all the options are right. One, two, three. Options are right. Chala River Forest. Chala River Forest is recently seen in news. It is in state of Assam. What is Chala River? It is basically on the bank of this river. This Chala River Forest that is in Assam. In this Chala village, especially the villagers, they promise to contribute community forest, right? They themselves protect a particular forest and contribute huge to the mankind in environmental protection. Next. Extended producer responsibility, it is according to recycled plastic manufacturing and users rule. Sorry, e-waste. This is related to e-waste. This is related to e-waste management handling rules 2021. It says that the producer also, the e-waste producer will be punished according to the law, that this will be a measure to reduce the polythene use in the cities because it causes ultimately eh, various problems in the society, right? So EUS needs to be managed properly. So for today, this is the total discussion of current affairs. Like this video, share this video, and please encourage us to continue this more. If more people will see, then we will continue this program, otherwise we will stop. Thank you.